First of all, congratulations to all the winners today for the Excalibur Awards. It's been an honor to witness those winners and all the hard work that they've done. For Capgemini specifically, it's been a real opportunity for us to join forces with the folks at TAG and the people here from a technology perspective, because from a business standpoint, we think there's a real opportunity for us to help folks in the state of Georgia and members of TAG, as well as in North America and worldwide, with our Office of the CFO offerings, because there's effectively been a convergence, especially around, as folks know, around technology, and as was mentioned today a couple times, is that the technology is able now. And around the Office of the CFO and what is required for the Office of the CFO with budgeting and planning and consolidations and performance management, and then more recently with governance and compliance, and then now with the new requirements for visibility into the enterprise. It's been brought on, of course, even most recently by our economic situation. These aren't new requirements for the Office of the CFO, but technology has finally caught up with the need, if you will. So again, thanks for having us today. It's been a real joy to see these folks share their work and share their experiences, and then it's been a real joy to see them win. And then hopefully we can come back next year and give you some of our own stories and experiences.
thank you to the folks at TAG for including me in the meeting this morning, and I wanted to thank the McKesson people for making the trip down 400 at this busy time of day to support TAG and to support me. And I also want to thank my son, Gavin. Gavin is sitting over there. I just turned 9 this week, and he decided when we got here that since it was a technology conference that he should be able to use his Nintendo DX while I speak. But I've forbidden that. Gavin is one of my 3 sons. My oldest son is a sophomore at Indiana University and will be leaving here and heading up to Bloomington for Parents' Weekend. And then my 3rd son, Dylan, is a senior at Milton High School. Now, I always tell people I come to work to relax with those 3 boys in my life, but actually I find myself relying on them a lot, learning what's going on in technology. So I thought I would start with my 2 latest examples. Now, I don't know how many people in the room are in my age category or a little bit older, but do you remember applying to college? See, for me, it was an experience with a typewriter and whiteout. Do you remember? And you finished your applications, you typed them up, you put them in an envelope, and you shipped them off. And then what did you do? You waited by the mailbox, right? And so now I'm watching Dylan, I'm watching him complete his college applications, and of course he completes them online, does all the submissions online. And the other day we were all in the house watching TV and we heard Dylan screaming. And it was about 11 o'clock at night, and we ran upstairs to figure out what was going on, and he had gotten his first acceptance speech. Because when the colleges accept a student, it automatically sends an email saying welcome and congratulations on your acceptance. It's a pretty big change. Now, probably the most important story for me and a constant reminder that change is happening at a greater rate than we ever thought possible. My son Aaron, who's in college, has a couple of friends who are graduating in December. So he said, Mom, will you do these guys a favor? I'm going to send you their resumes. Can you take a look, give me some ideas? And I really want to help them position themselves to get hired. So he sends me the resumes of these 2 guys. I go online, I edit the resumes, and I email these 2 guys who are graduating in December my edits on their resume and some thoughts in terms of what they should do to prepare themselves for a series of interviews coming up. So I wait a couple of days and no response. Wait a couple of days, no response. Finally, a week later, I pick up the phone and I call Aaron. I said, maybe I didn't provide a lot of added value, but one of the things you should tell your friends is an email back thanking you is always a good thing to do when somebody helps you out professionally. He said, Mom, he said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I spent all this time editing their resume. He goes, how'd you send it to them? I said, I sent it to their email. He said, Mom, nobody uses email. You should have called me so I could have told them to check their email. And this is a true story. The kids in college today don't use email. They text message and they use Facebook. So think about that and think about how quickly the world is changing. I look at our job as technology leaders as figuring out how to use this technology to truly have an impact on the world and to truly use this technology to make us more connected. And to me, it's really not about the technology, it's really about the impact. And I wanted to spend just a little bit of time this morning talking to you about the impact I believe technology can have in healthcare. But I think the most exciting thing for all of us is every day when we put systems in place that improve the way people work and improve the way people communicate, we have a tremendous impact on the world in which we live in. And I would say probably our collective largest challenge professionally with the economy the way it is today and the uncertainty is forcing people to continue with these technology projects, because I believe our long-term competitiveness, productivity, and the essence of the country that we are will be based on our ability to utilize technology to drive us forward faster and to continue to make an impact. So let me tell you first a little bit about McKesson. You know, I think we're one of the biggest secrets in the Alpharetta, Atlanta area. We're actually the largest healthcare IT company in the world. This year, our division, which is headquartered right down the road, will do about $3 billion in revenue, and that makes us the largest. The second largest is about half that size. There are about 16,000 people in our business. There are about 4,000 in the Atlanta community, and we're part of McKesson, which is a Fortune 18 company. And you don't hear a lot about McKesson Technologies because all of our solutions are private labeled in the organizations, the hospitals, the physician office, the payers that implement our system. We're also in the midst of celebrating our 175th anniversary, and so the company's weathered a lot and emerged as a Fortune 18 company dedicated exclusively to healthcare. Now, what's really unique about McKesson is we're the only company out there, if you go into CVS and get the drugs off of the shelf, those come out of a McKesson truck. And if you go to the physician office, or as Gavin would tell you, the nurse's office, that Band-Aid will have a McKesson label on it. We're also the largest provider of technology for hospitals, physician offices, and when you look at the healthcare world and the challenges in healthcare, you realize the greatest challenge is how do you bring the healthcare system together to make it more efficient and safer. And what we believe at McKesson is that we're really uniquely positioned with the view that we have of healthcare to help drive that healthcare system to a more efficient, more connected world. Now, I want to spend just a minute on healthcare. You hear a lot about it when you hear the political debates, and you hear a lot about it when you look at the world and some of the struggles that we have and that many countries across the globe have in terms of figuring out how do you provide this country, how do you provide the world with the best healthcare at an affordable price. You know, the challenges are pretty tough when you, I'm going to go back to this chart. When you look at the top line is the cost of health care. And right now, you probably all feel it in your pocket, but healthcare costs are soaring. The bottom two lines look at the inflation rate, and they also look at the wage increases that we get. And I guess it's pretty clear that healthcare costs are out of control. And so when we look at using technology, we start asking ourselves, what impact can technology have, and what are we trying to fix? Here are some interesting facts for you. If you walked into a hospital today and you looked at their outstanding receivables, the money that was going to be paid, today about 10% of that money would come from us as our copay. 90% would come from the government, Medicare, Medicaid, or commercial payers. If you look down the road, about 30% of the receivables will come from us. We will be paying more out of pocket for health care than has ever been paid before. That's a problem for us as individuals. Now look at it from the healthcare organization's perspective. Guess what? It is much harder to collect money from us than it is an insurance company. As a matter of fact, about 40% of the bad debt and write-offs that occur in healthcare are for patient balances under $300. We simply don't pay our bills. So if you look at what's happening in the shift to the patient, most of these healthcare systems who tend to run right around break even at best anyway, could really face a crisis if more money shifts to the patient and they don't come up with more efficient ways of chasing down the patient copay and collecting those small dollar amounts. Now, this seems like not that an exciting a problem to fix, but how many of you pay your electric bill online? What we've shown just in piloting some new technology in healthcare, that if you put healthcare bills online, guess what? People are more apt to pay them, more apt to pay them quickly, and more apt to pay them without disputing them. So moving healthcare online not only helps the fundamentals of safe care, but we believe can have a big impact on some of these financial issues and challenges healthcare organizations face. Now, this chart may come as a surprise to you. This is how Medicare pays the local hospitals. In the middle column, you'll see the average cost of a procedure. Pick one, heart failure. On average, it costs the hospital $4,922 to provide care for an inpatient stay if a patient comes in with Medicare and heart failure. Medicare will reimburse $4,300 for that inpatient stay. Quickly calculate the negative, right? So the costs of care and the cost of providing care are increasing exponentially at a rate that is much greater than the government reimbursement rates. That means most of the healthcare providers in the country, whether they're physicians or whether they're hospitals, start off in the hole just treating the Medicare and Medicaid patients. And that's why those of us with commercial insurance or the ability to pay are feeling such pressure to make up the gap. Now, another big problem that the country faces when you look at healthcare is this concept of indigent patients or patients who cannot pay and who are uninsured. It's a pretty staggering figure. Over $40 billion a year of free care is provided in this country. People who show up at the emergency room, if you go to the emergency room in most states in the United States, you're going to get treatment whether you have money or not. Once you receive that treatment, $41 billion worth of care is provided in an unreimbursed manner. Now, it's really a crazy system because a lot of times people go to the emergency room because they can't afford a doctor, or because they have held off on going to see a doctor because of the cost of care, and so in the end, they actually end up getting the most expensive care at a point in their lives or a point in the episode of care where they're sickest. A lot of the care, a lot of the costs could have been prevented, but the indigent don't receive services until they show up in the emergency room. So we've got a system that just isn't quite working together. And you know, I have to tell you, the more I dig into it, the more I discover it may not be the amount of money, it may be the distribution of money. We continue to see McKesson actually manages the state Medicaid program for the state of Illinois. And through our programs, we've saved the state $34 million in a year treating the indigent population. Do you want to hear one of the biggest catalysts for savings? People are discharged from the hospital, they go home. What are you supposed to do? Go back and see your doctor. We found out a lot of the patients we're following don't go back and see their doctor. Do you know why? They don't have transportation. They don't feel well enough to get into the bus to go find their doctor. So since we took on risk for the program, you know what we did? We subcontracted to a taxi service. And every one of our patients that's discharged from the hospital, we contact proactively, make sure they get to the doctor, and guess what? We send a taxi to their home, take them to the doctor, and bring them home. We've saved millions of dollars for the state of Illinois based on the fact we make sure those patients receive their follow-up care. So there is a lot we can do by building a connected network and having information available to understand where the cost and where the opportunity is to provide better care.